Did you know that one of the most famous and controversial poltergeist cases in history was so chilling, it inspired a hit Hollywood movie? But here's the twist. It wasn't just the spooky phenomena that kept everyone riveted. It was the evidence captured during the haunting. What if I told you there's still a heated debate over whether it was the work of mischievous spirits or an elaborate hoax? Stay with us, because tonight we're unraveling the mystery of the Enfield Poltergeist. It all began in 1977 in the quiet suburban town of Enfield, England. Peggy Hodgson, a single mother of 4, called the police to her modest council house, claiming strange things were happening. Furniture was moving on its own. Knocks and taps echoed through the walls, but this wasn't just any ghost story. One of the most shocking claims? The youngest daughter, Janet, appeared to be possessed, speaking in a voice far too deep for an 11-year-old. And yes, some of this was captured on tape. We'll play it for you later, but first, let's unravel how this small family became the center of worldwide paranormal attention. When police arrived, they dismissed Peggy's story, until one officer claimed to witness a chair move across the room without explanation. Let me say that again. A police officer, a trained observer, documented seeing something they couldn't explain. This was just the beginning. As word spread, paranormal investigators Maurice Gross and Guy Lyon Playfair arrived at the house. Over the next 18 months, they witnessed and recorded hundreds of unexplained events. But the real mystery, how the activity centered almost entirely around Janet Hodgson. By now, skeptics were circling. Journalists accused the Hodgson family of fabricating the haunting for attention or money. But here's where things get strange. The investigators set up audio recorders, and the results were terrifying. Listen to this recording. What you're about to hear is Janet, seemingly possessed, speaking in a voice that doesn't sound human. Play audio clip of Janet's possessed voice saying, "I am Bill Wilkins. I used to live here." Bill Wilkins, a name the Hodgsons claimed they had never heard. Yet research would later reveal that a man by that name did die in the house years earlier. So was this a ghost speaking through Janet, or something else entirely? But here's where it gets even stranger. Witnesses, ranging from neighbors to journalists, reported seeing Janet levitate. Investigators snapped this photo, which some claim shows her being lifted from her bed. But skeptics point out that this could be Janet jumping from her bed. So was it levitation or clever trickery? And what about the furniture moving, the voices, the unexplained knocks? Here's the kicker. Scientists from the Society for Psychical Research tested Janet and determined she wasn't faking the voice. But even they couldn't agree on what was really happening. If Janet wasn't lying, what does that leave us with? Psychologists who reviewed the case pointed to possible explanations: mass hysteria, suggestibility, or even boredom. Remember, this was a working-class family struggling to make ends meet. Could it have been a desperate cry for attention? And there was evidence that at least some events were faked. Janet later admitted she and her sister orchestrated some of the activity to keep the investigators interested. But did they fake everything? So, here's where we're left. The Enfield Poltergeist remains one of the most documented paranormal cases in history. Investigators captured over 2,000 unexplained phenomena. Skeptics, meanwhile, point to human psychology and clever pranks. But what about Bill Wilkins? What about the police officer's testimony? And that voice? Was the Enfield Poltergeist a genuine paranormal event? A family's desperate attempt for attention? Or something in between? A strange mix of truth and fiction? One thing's for sure. The case has never been fully debunked, and it continues to haunt our imagination to this day. The truth about the Enfield Poltergeist may never be known, but in the world of the unexplained, sometimes the questions are more haunting than the answers. What do you believe happened in that little house in Enfield? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories of the unexplained. But we only scratched the surface. Witnesses claim they saw Janet levitate. Investigators captured hundreds of unexplained phenomena. But here's the question: why did the activity suddenly stop, and has it truly ended? Tonight, we dig deeper into the unsolved mysteries, uncovering chilling new details you won't believe. When we think of hauntings, we picture fleeting moments of terror, bumps in the night, a shadow in the corner. But the Enfield Poltergeist wasn't just a moment. It lasted for over a year, leaving behind a trail of evidence that investigators are still analyzing. Recently uncovered notes from Maurice Gross's personal journals reveal something intriguing. While he publicly stated he believed the family, his private notes question whether something darker was at play. Could this poltergeist have been more than just a restless spirit? In one entry, Gross wrote about a chilling pattern. Every time the family seemed to settle into calm, the activity would escalate, almost as if the entity thrived on their fear. Was this a psychological phenomenon, or something malevolent? As weeks turned into months, the poltergeist's antics became more dangerous. Peggy Hodgson recalled waking up to the sound of heavy breathing in her bedroom, only to find her dresser pushed against the door, trapping her inside. But perhaps the most terrifying incident came one night when Janet claimed she was dragged from her bed by an invisible force. Her sister Margaret described watching in horror as Janet was pulled across the room screaming, "Janet!" I couldn't see it, but I felt it. Something grabbed me. I thought I was going to die. This wasn't just a ghost rattling a few chains. This was physical, violent, and it raised a terrifying question. Was this poltergeist becoming more powerful? Of course, skeptics have pointed to another possibility. Could the Hodgson children have staged these events to keep the investigators' attention? After all, Maurice Gross and Guy Lyon Playfair spent months living with the family. But here's the twist. Many of the most disturbing incidents happened when no one else was around. I saw enough with my own eyes to know something extraordinary was happening. But were the children capable of trickery? Of course. That's the paradox of Enfield. And this brings us to the next major question. If the activity wasn't constant, what triggered it? Could it be tied to Janet herself? And if so, what does that say about the nature of the poltergeist? To better understand what might have been happening, I spoke with Dr. Emily Carver, a psychologist who specializes in poltergeist phenomena. Dr. Carver, many people believe these events are tied to emotional stress. What's your take? Dr. Carver. In cases like Enfield, there's often a link between heightened stress and unexplained activity. Janet was going through puberty, her family had financial struggles, and they had just experienced a traumatic event. Could her subconscious have been externalizing that stress in the form of poltergeist activity? It's possible. But what about the voices, the levitations? Those don't sound like stress responses. Dr. Carver, that's where things get complicated. Poltergeists don't fit neatly into psychological theories or even paranormal ones. That's what makes them so fascinating. By the summer of 1978, the activity began to wane. Some say the Hodgsons learned to ignore the phenomena, robbing the entity of its power. Others suggest a darker explanation. The poltergeist had gotten what it wanted. In one of the final documented incidents, Janet claimed to see a shadowy figure standing at the foot of her bed. It whispered, "Goodbye." After that night, the activity stopped. But here's the mystery. Why did it stop? And why did it target Janet in the first place? While the family moved on, investigators remained haunted by these unanswered questions. The Enfield Poltergeist has become a cultural phenomenon, inspiring movies, documentaries, and endless debate. But for the Hodgson family, it was never about fame. Janet once said, "I wish it had never happened." Janet, voiceover, "I lost a part of my childhood because of it. Whether people believe me or not, I know what I saw." Today, skeptics and believers alike continue to study the case. Was it a hoax, a misunderstood psychological phenomenon, or proof of something truly otherworldly? Perhaps the real power of the Enfield Poltergeist isn't in the haunting itself, but in the questions it forces us to ask. What do we believe, and why? The truth may never be fully known, but one thing is certain: The Enfield Poltergeist continues to captivate and terrify us all. If you enjoyed this journey into the unexplained, make sure to subscribe and share your theories in the comments. Who knows? Maybe the answers are waiting to be discovered. Welcome back. Tonight, we explore the lasting legacy of the Enfield Poltergeist, the new evidence that has come to light, and the lingering mysteries that still haunt the Hodgson family and investigators. Could the poltergeist be lying dormant, waiting to reawaken? Decades have passed since the Enfield Poltergeist terrorized the Hodgson family. Today, Janet and her siblings are adults with families of their own. But the memories of those harrowing months have never truly left them.
It's something you never forget. Even now, I sometimes wake up in the middle of the night feeling like someone is watching me.
But what about the rest of the family? How have they coped with the legacy of living in a haunted house?
We all dealt with it in different ways. Some of us tried to forget, while others embraced it, wanting to understand what happened. For me, it's always been about seeking answers.
Maurice Grosse and Guy Lyon Playfair dedicated a significant part of their lives to the Enfield case. But what did they really believe? And how has the case influenced paranormal investigation since then? Grosse and Playfair were pioneers. They faced skepticism and ridicule, but they stood by their findings. This journal reveals their internal debates and their determination to uncover the truth. Playfair passed away in 2018, but his book, This House is Haunted, remains a seminal work on the Enfield case. New evidence, however, has surfaced from their unpublished notes and recordings, offering fresh insights.
Playfair hinted at a secondary presence, something darker, more sinister. His unpublished notes suggest they were on the brink of discovering a deeper mystery before the activity ceased.
Up next, we'll reveal what these new findings suggest about the true nature of the Enfield Poltergeist. Recently, a cache of recordings and notes was discovered in Maurice Grosse's estate. These documents provide new details that weren't included in the original investigation reports. Among these documents are tapes of previously unheard interviews with the Hodgson family and recordings of unexplained phenomena. One tape in particular stands out, a session where a voice, not belonging to any family member, issues a chilling warning. A disembodied voice saying, "Leave this house or suffer the consequences." Experts have analyzed these recordings, confirming their authenticity. But what does this voice mean? And why was it never made public? The voice is unlike any of the known family members or investigators. It suggests an external source. Whether it's paranormal or not is still up for debate, but its presence is undeniable. While the paranormal aspects of the Enfield case are compelling, psychological explanations still offer intriguing insights. We spoke with Dr. Emily Carver again, this time to discuss the newly uncovered evidence.
The new recordings provide a fresh perspective. It's possible that the intense media scrutiny and the constant presence of investigators created an environment where psychological phenomena manifested physically. This doesn't discount the paranormal, but adds another layer of complexity.
Could the poltergeist have been a manifestation of collective stress? Or is there a darker force at play?
Both theories could be true simultaneously. The human mind is powerful, and in extreme situations, it can create or attract phenomena that defy explanation.
The Enfield Poltergeist case set a precedent for modern paranormal investigations. Today, we have advanced technology and methodologies that Maurice Grosse and Guy Lyon Playfair could only dream of. We joined a team of paranormal researchers as they used state-of-the-art equipment to detect and record unexplained phenomena. Their findings could help us understand what really happened in Enfield.
We used thermal imaging EMF detectors and EVP recordings to capture evidence. The Enfield case showed us that thorough documentation is crucial. Every detail matters.
And what have these modern investigations uncovered?
We've found patterns similar to those at Enfield. Sudden temperature drops, objects moving without explanation, and voices that seem to come from nowhere. The Enfield case remains a benchmark for these phenomena.
The Enfield Poltergeist case is far from closed. It continues to intrigue, terrify, and inspire both skeptics and believers. As we look back on this case, we must ask ourselves, what have we truly learned?
Enfield taught us the importance of an open mind. Whether you believe in the paranormal or not, the evidence demands attention.
It's a case that challenges our understanding of reality. The psychological and paranormal are intertwined in ways we're just beginning to understand.
I just hope people remember that behind all the stories and theories, we were a real family living through a nightmare.
The Enfield Poltergeist remains one of the most documented and debated hauntings in history. It forces us to confront our deepest fears and question the nature of our reality. And as long as there are questions, the Enfield Poltergeist will continue to haunt us all. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the unknown. Be sure to like and subscribe and stay tuned for more investigations into the world's most chilling mysteries.